Всім добрий вечір.
On behalf of the brave.
On behalf of every father and every mother.
Wings for freedom. On behalf of our warriors.
And paves the way for a new history.
Hello and welcome to Tochnyi Weekly, the show that gets behind the headlines to discuss the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. We broadcast every week live on YouTube and Twitter. Please follow Tochnyi on both platforms for updates, scheduled broadcasts, and additional content. This week we have a lot to cover. First, I will be providing a news report, followed by a German aid report by German Aid to Ukraine. Next is a review of combat footage from the week with Erlend and J, followed by a brief military update. So first, without any further delay, I will get to some general news from the week. Okay, so this is the news report for around, the 13th to the 19th. An explosion in Melitopol. The Russian-occupied city of Melitopol was rocked by a powerful explosion that claimed the lives of at least 3 Russian officers. This blast was described as an act of revenge and was orchestrated by local resistance groups, reflecting the escalating tensions and ongoing resistance within the occupied territories. F-16 pilots training centers were established in Romania, marking a significant step in bolstering Ukraine's air capabilities. This center is crucial for pilots learning F-16 fighter jets and comes as part of an initiative supported by the Netherlands, between 12 and 18 F-16s for training purposes. This move aims to enhance interoperability between NATO allies, with the jets remaining Dutch property and strictly flown within NATO territory. So in other words, the Dutch jets will be operating in the Romanian base, so this is kind of an experiment in NATO cooperation in addition to a Ukrainian training program. Next, there were missile attacks in Kyiv. Kyiv witnessed a tense moment as it came under a Russian ballistic missile attack for the first time in over 52 days. The missile, however, never reached its target as Ukrainian defenders skillfully shot it down. Remarkably, the attack resulted in no casualties and only minor damage to the surrounding buildings. Next, Ukraine has made some territorial advances. Ukrainian border guards have reportedly regained control of the village of Topoli, a strategic area near the Russian border in the country's northeast. This is significant because it illustrates that there are broader counteroffensives going on in areas across the front line. The Sumy region has been under severe bombardment by Russian forces this week. A tragedy recently when 2 individuals riding motorcycles became the victims of this shelling. This is in addition to repeated shellings. For example, on the 17th, there were 25 shellings in less than 24 hours in Sumy Oblast, and this has been a pattern throughout the week. So it's been a very difficult week for Sumy Oblast. In Avdiivka, there have been intense battles, and the situation remains critical as Ukrainian forces continue to fend off relentless Russian assaults. The military successfully repelled 35 Russian attacks in and around the heavily bombarded town, making Avdiivka one of the most crucial and fiercely contested battlegrounds in the current conflict. There have also been some Russian assaults near Bakhmut. The situation near Bakhmut in Donetsk Oblast has seen a significant escalation, with Russian forces intensifying their attempts to capture strategic positions. Ukrainian forces in response are actively engaging and repelling the assaults, highlighting the fierce and unyielding nature of the battle for Bakhmut that's been going on this whole time. There were attacks in Odessa. Odessa, of course, a critical Black Sea port city for Ukraine. Russia has been targeting with missile and drone strikes, causing injuries to the civilian population and substantial damage to the port infrastructure. These attacks are part of Russia's strategy to try to disrupt Ukrainian shipping. I would say since the end of the grain deal, but really the whole time. But this has been an increasing pattern since the end of the grain deal. President Zelensky has imposed sanctions against 37 Russian groups and 108 individuals. All the sources I found specify that Zelensky did this, so not the Ukrainian government generally. I guess Zelensky used his powers as president specifically to do this. These sanctions, targeting those implicated in wartime abductions of children and acts of Russian terror, include various high-profile figures such as former Ukrainian Prime Minister and Russian appointed leaders of Crimea and Luhansk. The sanctions involve a wide range of penalties, including asset blocking, extensive restrictions on financial and economic activities, and continues to reflect Ukraine's broader attempts to enforce or protect the Russian influence. And the last article of news this week, there have been a few Russian security incidents involving trains. Russian law enforcement or anti-terrorism investigators have initiated a terrorism investigation following the derailment of a train by an improvised explosive device in the Ryazan region. Additionally, Moscow has leveled accusations against Ukraine for orchestrating attacks on trains in border regions in Bryansk and Belgorod. So these are another in a long series of sort of mysterious train derailments, switching stations being on fire, things like this going on in Russia. Of course, Ukrainian intelligence services have implied some hand in this in the past, but there have also been local Russian groups, opposition groups that have taken credit for some of these in the past. So that concludes my portion of the general news report. So now I'm going to turn it over to our Tochnyi associate, German aid to Ukraine. German aid to Ukraine, of course, is someone who really needs no introduction to anyone who is interested in the subject of German aid to Ukraine in general, because he's pretty much the foremost authority on this. But if you're not familiar with him, he's on Twitter as DEAIDUA, so DE aid UA. And he also has a website, which is the same name, deaidua.org/en. And that's for English. It'll be in German otherwise, of course. So please do go to the website, check out all of the stuff that he's assembled. He's probably the foremost authority. He's someone who's done a lot of research to aggregate and collate, and he's not someone who just goes online and checks. He's someone who calls the German Defense Ministry and says, "Hey, is this accurate?" So he has a lot of accurate information, and I highly recommend following him outside of the report. But he has generously agreed to provide us a broadcast report of the main developments over the course of the week. In the past, I would read this report, but of course, I am greatly appreciative of the fact that I no longer need to pronounce the names of German government officials, towns, and companies. So I will now turn it over to German Aid to Ukraine for his report on the events of this week. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First, it's my first time speaking in front of an audience, so please forgive me if I mispronounce something. But yeah, let's start. So the German THW announced on Monday on Twitter that they are currently preparing another relief delivery to Ukraine. This time it mostly involves transporters, skid loaders, ladders, wheelbarrows, concrete mixers, and tools. And for those who are wondering, the THW is the Federal Civil Protection Organization of Germany. So that was the announcement, sorry. On Tuesday, that is a little bit Sorry, there's one slide missing. Anyway, on Tuesday, Rheinmetall announced in a press release that they have been contracted by the Ukrainian government to deliver 25 Leopard 1A5s, 5 Bergepanzer II, and 2 Leopard 1 driving school tanks to Ukraine. The German government is paying for the contract. The delivery is scheduled for 2024. The order value is in the upper double-digit million euro range and also includes training, logistics, spare parts, maintenance, and other support services. With the delivery of these vehicles, the German government's last made pledges to Ukraine in terms of these vehicles should now all be contracted. So now we are also on Tuesday. In the same press release, they also stated at the very bottom that they are delivering 5 Caracal air mobile platforms to Ukraine, which was a very big surprise to me. That means that Ukraine will be the first user of these newly produced vehicles. The delivery will take place at the end of 2023 to the beginning of 2024. A spokesperson from Rheinmetall confirmed to me that that the delivery is actually contracted and paid by the German government. Little side info: the Dutch and German armed forces made a framework contract for over 3,000 vehicles, which are worth about 1.9 billion euros. And the first testing vehicles are to be delivered in Q1 2024 and the series production in 2025, which basically means that the delivery of 5 Caracals to Ukraine is a big field test. The interesting thing is that the Caracal is specially intended for the use by special forces, which makes it very likely that these 5 vehicles are part of the 20 million euro package for the Ukrainian special forces that Germany pledged in September. The delivery of these Caracals to Ukraine makes another thing very likely, namely that the German defense magazine CPM Defense Network was either very close to the truth with their research that and reporting that 50 e-bike EMU, which you can see on the screen, are part of the 20 million euro package for the Ukrainian special forces, or that these are actually also being delivered on top of the 5 Caracals. After all, the e-bike EMU is manufactured by ACS Armored Car Systems, which has also some shares in the Caracal air mobile platform by Rheinmetall. So very interesting to me, and we will have to see in the future how this one turns out. On the same day, the German government also updated their list of military assistance to Ukraine and made public that they have delivered the following to Ukraine in the last 2 weeks. So last week, they sadly forget to update the website. So that's why we have now 2 weeks at the same update. So delivered were 10 Leopard 1A5 main battle tanks, 14 Bandwagen 206, 1 Wiesent 1 mine clearing tank, 4 HX-81 tank transporters, 60 Mercedes-Benz Zetros, 5 Bronco ATTC ambulances, 3 border protection vehicles, 13 MAN TGS trucks, 3 regular vehicles, 10 Vector UAVs, 14 ground surveillance radars, Ground Observer 12, 10,000 ballistic glasses, and around 1,155 shells, and 1.33 million rounds of firearm ammunition. They also pledged another 5 Bronco ATTC ambulances to Ukraine. Also on Tuesday, the German journalist Björn Müller has given us another update regarding the developments at KMW. He confirmed his research from January by reporting that there is still no contract between KMW and Ukraine regarding the 100 Panzerhaubitzen 2000, which the German government authorized for production in July last year. He has also informed us about the fact that the production line for the remote controlled Howitzers 155 is currently being built. And just for you, so you have a little bit more info on the timeline, it was recently announced in a Spiegel article that the first Howitzers will be delivered to Ukraine at the end of 2024. On Wednesday, it was officially confirmed that the Bundeswehr has ordered 2,600 DM-22 anti-tank mines from TDW, with an option of the procurement of a further 10,000 mines. This means that the production of the German mines, which also have been supplied to Ukraine on a large scale, will be restarted after many, many years. This also means that at least a later or further delivery of these mines to Ukraine is possible again. The only drawback is that Ukraine would have to wait longer, at least for a delivery of newly produced mines, because the then also modernized ones will not be delivered to the Bundeswehr until 2026. But we can seriously hope for a contract for Ukraine in the future, as the German government pledged an unknown number and type of anti-tank mines in July this year, and has since then not published any more info on this. Of course, it is possible that they are delivering different mines or mines from their own stocks, for example.
I have a question for this, if you...
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so they have delivered quite a substantial number of this to Ukraine already, as far as I understood, right?
Yes, like of this mines, the current contract of 2,600 mines is a replacement for the mines they have already donated to Ukraine. So in total, on the official website, it's 13,900 mines, when I remember right. But they didn't specify the types. But just in terms of this mine, the DM-22, it should be 2,600 delivered to Ukraine.
And do you expect that the production line is kind of ready to go? Is there, or do you expect the lead time before production actually ramps up and works like it used to be working back in the day when they were making this?
Yeah, I mean this is many years ago. When I remember right, I'm not too sure about this, so be aware of this. But the last production was done like over a decade ago, and so they need a couple of weeks, month maybe, to actually restart the production. I don't think it's starting tomorrow, and I mean there's a reason why the Bundeswehr is getting the first mines in 2 years, right?
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. It's very interesting because this is a very useful and high tech mine compared to a lot of the other stuff that Ukraine has in its arsenal. So thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So just for further explanation, the image I posted up is not the mine configuration Ukraine got. This one is the already modernized one with an IR seeker. Normally you have like a fiber cable which has a range of about 40 meters, and the tank or the vehicle are driving over the fiber cable. Then the signal of the cable changes, basically 1010, right? And then it's basically like a Panzerfaust going off and charging towards the vehicle. And this one is then with an IR sensor, which has a range of 100 meters. And yeah, like I said, the Bundeswehr is getting the modernized versions. So that's why I posted this image. Yeah.
I just want to add that this is a very this kind of mine. You don't actually need to be in physical contact with the vehicle for it to work, and that's, I don't think everyone knows. This thing basically shoots out a jet stream that cuts open a hole in the armor of the vehicle that it hits. So yeah, just an added information from me. There are, of course, different versions of this sort of system, and I presume that the German one is probably very well made. So yeah, there are many different ways you can take out an armored vehicle with mines, and most of them are you dig down in the soil that most of you have seen, but this one is rather different and has a different use scenario. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thank you. So next slide. Yeah, on Wednesday, during the German-Ukrainian City Partnerships Conference in Leipzig, Minister for Economic Cooperation and Development Svenja Schulze has pledged an additional 50 million euros, which are earmarked in particular for the partnerships between city hospitals to fund upskilling or urgently needed medical devices for Ukrainian hospitals. On Thursday, the German city of Teltow handed over an assistance package worth around 200,000 euros to the Ukrainian twin city of Khotyn. I hope I said that correctly. I'm not very familiar with Ukrainian city names. Sorry about that. Urgently needed vehicles were handed over. To be more precise, a truck with a lifting platform, a pickup truck, a firefighting vehicle, a bus, and 2 ambulances. For their part, the Waste Management Potsdam Mittelmark has also donated more than 30 bins and 300 items of work clothing in the form of trousers and jackets. As everyone surely knows, Germany is planning to double its planned military aid to Ukraine for the year 2024. The German Minister of Defense, Boris Pistorius, already confirmed this on television last Sunday. The negotiations by the Budget Committee of the German Bundestag for all budgets for 2024 started on Thursday this week. Sadly, they couldn't reach an agreement yet on Financial Plan number 60, which is the general financial administration from which the military aid to Ukraine is taken. So it's not only about the military aid to Ukraine, it's a general plan which includes several subjects or topics, how you would say. This budget, the Financial Plan 60, will not be approved until next Thursday, the 24th of November. So we still have to be patient for another week. The background is a decision by the Federal Constitutional Court in Germany just a few days before the negotiations started. The court had declared the allocation of 60 billion in pandemic-related credit authorizations to the Climate and Transformation Fund in 2021 to be unconstitutional and null and void. The decision has significant consequences for the federal government's financial planning. Nevertheless, I personally expect that the doubling of military aid to Ukraine will still be approved, as the ruling parties have already agreed on this, even on the highest levels, and the doubling of military aid has already been announced on TV by Pistorius, for example. So I wouldn't be worried about too much. It's just delayed for 1 week. And last but not least, to help prepare the Ukrainian capital Kiev for the upcoming winter month, the airport of Hamburg has donated a fire brigade equipment vehicle, an Unimog tipper, and a lorry with a snow plow and a winter service equipment mechanism. So that's the summary of German aid to Ukraine this week. And thanks for listening.
Great, thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. So I guess there's like maybe 2 other small items on our little news report, and then we'll move to the next segment. But the first, I guess we'll call this part like news that needs clarification or something like that. So the first one, I was actually going to include this in the general news report, but it was sort of too confusing and inconclusive. However, Andrew Perpetua, gave us this information just now. So apparently in the time I was asleep and woke up, this is clarified or something. But so here's the story. For the last week or so, the Ukrainian press has been talking about these big shuffles in the Ukrainian command staff that are going to be happening. And the government has been very cagey about acknowledging this. They've denied parts of what the Ukrainian media have been saying in terms of like their confidential sources, but not specifically denying like this or that. They're just saying like, that's not entirely true, something like that. So it was sort of just confusing enough that I was like, well, maybe next week through. But apparently this has now happened for sure, so we can report this. Today, there was an important personnel decision. At the request of the Minister of Defense, he replaced the commander of the medical forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. he appointed, instead of Tatiana Ostashenko, who was the current leader, the new person, Anatoly Kazmierchuk, who is now the head of the medical forces of the military. He was the head of the National Military Medical Clinical Center, which is like the main military clinical hospital in Kyiv. So this is a new, chief of the medical forces of Ukraine. The task for him is obvious. The needs of the medics in the Ukrainian military are very high. They need a fundamentally new level of medical support, obviously. And they need high quality tourniquets. They need digitization of medical records information. They need high quality training to get the medics, able to do their jobs effectively on the battlefield. So a lot of work needs to be done for the Ukrainian medical staff, for the military, and we wish the best of luck to the new Major General Kazmierchuk. So that's number one. Andrew, is there anything else you wanted to add about that story, or did I pretty much get all the information out? Okay, I'll take that as I covered all the main information. Then the last story, I guess, is more just like there's a big rumor, a big discussion going around about another IRIS-T system heading to Ukraine or being in Ukraine or something like this. People were talking about new IRIS-Ts. So of course we have the man himself here for us in terms of what's going on. So I will just ask you, Germany to Ukraine. We heard about some IRIS-Ts this week. What's going on?
Well, that's an unclear situation right now. As far as I understand it, the German ambassador to Ukraine, Martin Jäger, was at a stage and said that Germany is delivering 2 more systems until the end of the year, which for me is not possible. We have just delivered a system in October, and after many, many months, probably over half a year. And I don't see any way to like produce 2 full systems and also train Ukrainian personnel in just 6 weeks. It's just not possible. And so there are a couple of options which are more fitting, like for example the delivery of 2 SLS launchers, and the German Ministry of Defense, for example, made this mistake once, that they're saying we are delivering SLS systems to Ukraine, but we are just delivering SLS launchers. So these are short-range launchers which get integrated into the air defense systems, into the SLM systems. And last time we did this, we delivered 2 at the same time. So this would be a logical explanation that we are delivering like 2 SLS launchers until the end of the year. Another explanation would be that, which was already confirmed on live television a couple of weeks ago, that Germany is negotiating. I'm very sorry. With other countries which has the IRIS-T systems already in service, which would be Egypt and Sweden, when I remember correctly, that they are leasing their systems to Ukraine for the winter months. This also could be an explanation, but I don't see like why he should confirm this on stage. That's not something which you would say as a country. Yeah, by the way, Egypt doesn't have its IRIS-T systems anymore because Ukraine has this. So yeah, there's nothing confirmed right now. I also, just an info for you guys, I already wrote to the foreign ministry, to the German foreign ministry, and to the German Ministry of Defense. I'm in contact with them. As soon as I get any information, confirmation, I will let you know. And of course, we'll talk about it on Tochnyi.
Great. Thanks very much, Germany to Ukraine. So I think that concludes our general news report. So we are going to move to the next segment now. Erlend and I believe Jay will be joining us at some point to discuss some combat footage that has come out this week. Of course, Erlend is a veteran of the Norwegian Armed Forces. So there's some, he has some insights that he can give us about some of the combat footage that we're witnessing coming out of Ukraine. So Erlend, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. So what we really wanted to do, me and Jay, today is that we wanted to go through some of the videos from the most recent videos from the Frontlines that we can show here on YouTube without violating any rules and getting a ban. But and that's difficult. We've been looking through lots of videos to find something that is not too graphic, but anyways, show a real glimpse into the actions on the front lines. Yeah, we found two videos that we want to show that are also related to each other because it's showing two different realities and two different sort of actions happening at the front lines, but in the same area. Yeah, I guess welcome, Jay. Can you hear me?
Yes, very good. Hello and good evening to everybody from Germany. I have to excuse myself a bit for my voice. I'm currently a bit recovering from illness, so yeah, take it as it is. I can't change it.
Well, you sound perfectly fine to me, so I'm sorry that you feel sick. But let's go ahead with the first video. This is a video from the 3rd Assault Brigade. It's in the vicinity of Andriivka. Yeah, Jay, what do we see here?
Yeah, the usual entrenched position, and we have the Ukrainian soldiers stuck in the trenches, and as you can see, they are already seeking cover, and you can see the guy is also covering his ears, and we will now see why.
Yeah, there's incoming, and that was very close. And yeah, I'm gonna just rewind it and play it again. It's this is what they do every day, and you can see just the state of the environments they're in.
Yeah, can you pause her for a second?
Yep.
What we also will see in this video, but also in the next one we have prepared, is you will constantly see, how would I say, crippled tree lines.
Yeah, crippled tree lines that have been, under very heavy bombardment for a very, very long time in this area. Months and months. There's been fighting here.
Yeah, exactly. It's extensive shelling on the same positions. It's largely positional warfare, and yeah, the trees are no more.
Yep. Yeah, and just observing the trenches, it is what it is. Here they're firing at a drone, desperately with rifles. Not exactly the most ideal weapon you fire at a drone with. More incoming mortar fire.
No, that also was very close.
Yep.
What would be the perfect small arms solution to fight drones actually?
I guess in this if they're close enough, then a shotgun would be useful. I've seen videos of Ukrainians shooting down drones, Ukrainians and Russians shooting down drones with shotguns. But if you fly high enough, it's anyways really difficult to shoot down a drone with a small arm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and as you can see, there's fire breaking out in the vicinity of the trench. I'm uncertain what that is. Maybe something that is left in the next door trench, basically. That fuel or ammunition that caught fire due to the mortar fire.
Yeah, to be honest, we can't really say it because this is also the problem you sometimes have with combat footage or this kind of videos, because there is no real context what happened, and so like we cannot analyze it properly. It's a fire in the vicinity.
Блять, ХПшечка заряджена. Сука, горячая.
Okay, he's not happy.
Якщо що, то...
Yeah, they're not very happy.
FPV, мужики,
It's
FPV.
normal trench language.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and here it seems like they're firing at another drone.
Вон, полетел, полетел, полетел,
Ah yeah,
полетел.
there you can see it.
Блять!
Yeah.
And there the drone found the target.
Yeah, either it's a drone or precision strike directed by a drone. They were clearly firing at a drone in the vicinity, and I'm not certain, but I think maybe because of his reaction, that explosion happened at another Ukrainian position or something like it, because he wasn't very happy with that strike, was he?
No, definitely. It's supposed like maybe the next trench, but yeah, as I said, we can't really know. This is sometimes the problem with videos. That leaves room to speculation at this point.
Yep. Yeah, we don't really know, but
О, блять.
More shellings. Can you pause here for a moment? What is interesting about on very like it's a good example is the soldiers are like very focused on the sky, because I think this is how the battlefield reshaped through the extensive use of all kind of drones, especially FPV drones. That when you sit in a trench, like when we go back maybe to World War One, you would be focused about more the landscape, about snipers or an MG position, machine gun position. But yeah, the soldiers are looking at the sky constantly.
yep. I just want to say that from a former soldier's perspective, this situation with drones in the sky everywhere, and that you don't know if the drone is just looking at you or if it's actually carrying lethal munitions, or if itself is not going to dive into you and explode. It terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me.
Yeah, this is a good point. You don't know what kind it contains. It is just recon. Has it a grenade on the bottom? Yeah, very understandable. You can't really see it probably from the trench.
You also don't know whose drone it is. It could be your own drone.
Yeah, hi Andrew.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. It is common for guys to shoot down their own drones. Like this, it's a common instance. I heard from one of our friends, Vitaly. He said that one of the guys in his group was really proud because he shot down his first drone. It was the first drone anyone in their company had ever shot down. And when they recovered it, they realized it was a Ukrainian drone, and they were all pretty embarrassed about it. But that happens. I mean,
yeah, that
it's a little tiny drone in the sky. You have no idea whose it is.
Yeah, and it adds like battle tracking is really difficult already before you introduce small flying drones into the landscape. And if you're as lucky as that you have a battle tracking map available, basically Blue Force Tracker in certain configuration. I know that the Ukrainians have some really nice third-party applications and stuff on their tablets that can be hooked into Blue Force tracking, but I assume that drones is probably not there yet, also because of the OPSEC of it would be very, very unfortunate if the Russians figure out where all the Ukrainian drones are at any moment. But yeah, you just have to rely on the information that the commanders are distributing to you, actually. So yeah, I can imagine them being very happy by shooting down a drone, and then super disappointed when they found out whose it was. Yeah, thank you. I'll play the
Yeah,
rest of the
let's go
video, I
on.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Как тебе обстановка? Огонь. Да. Самое подходящее слово.
Yeah, there we have the World War I perspective again.
Yeah, it really is an abyss of a battlefield. This really reminds me of the outskirts of Bakhmut last year. There was some footage of similar scenery that just, yeah, it goes back to Passchendaele and the stuff that we saw from World War One, and it's absolutely horrible to imagine how it is to fight in this kind of scenery.
Yes, and I think in this, like, for this kind of understanding, combat footage is valuable because when we talk on the top level on analysis base, we should say that it's like a war which is largely fought by artillery, the availability of shelling, and here you can see the top-down result.
Yep.
FPV.
Ah, it says FPV. Ah, okay. This is. Do I understand it right? Is this like the rotation? That the troops in the trench get like exchanged?
Yes, this is a rotation, and basically you see an incoming APC. I think you found out which APC it was, didn't you?
I'm not sure about this. I can say it in the other video.
Okay.
This is a different type, but it's basically the same. It's is it okay when I say it's the battle taxi basically?
Yes, yeah, you can say it's a battle taxi, but Ukrainians are using these same vehicles as basically the IFV role as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they have
changing it.
to.
Yeah, that's what they have. But this is what they do to change out the people in the trenches and the positions on the front lines. And I'm gonna backtrack a little bit so that everyone can see how fast everything is going.
Yes, it's good.
They're really,
Ah.
really quick.
It is an IPR 65. You can see it on this chancel, or this like on top of the vehicle.
The
This is
shroud, yeah.
the shroud. Oh, thank you. This is a Dutch IPR 765. It's a
Yep.
modified original American made. Was it an M130?
Yeah, I think it's an iteration of the M113, yes.
Okay, let's watch it again. They are really quick.
Все, заходим. Давай! Все, погнали! Давай!
And the door closes.
Yep.
Understandable. I think the soldiers were kind of, I'm not sure what they were saying, but they were quite happy to get a bit of relief, and it seems that all have survived. They seem very happy.
Yep. Those chants when the armored vehicle moves in, it really sounds like that they are happy, relieved that their guard duty on this position is over for that day. And you just see that these are really also well trained, that changing out guards is something that they're used to, because it all happens in seconds, and they drive out again.
Yeah, because it's a critical time frame, I guess. Now you don't want to be spotted by a drone, or like it's just a fast in and out move. You want to, it's for the enemy. It's an interesting target at this moment.
Oh yes, like this is the moment the enemy could take out basically, um, partially two entire squads, and that's not what you want, and that's probably a target which the Russians are going to try to hit and be ready for if they are awake, which they not always are. But yeah, it's a high risk time frame. This changing of guards. You need to also move out of the trench, and there is a more movement in your area that the enemy can see because a large armored vehicle is approaching. And I guess the Russians should have understood at this moment, what they're actually doing when the APC arrives.
Yeah, your main threats here are ATGMs, helicopters, and ground launched. So there are a lot of videos out there of just this sort of timing, getting hit by a helicopter or a cornet or whatever it is. So that's usually your biggest threat, and then second to that would be artillery or mortars.
Yep.
Okay, good. No, I don't have much to add. Maybe here we have a little break. Do we have any interesting questions from our chat?
For now, I don't think there's any questions to this segment. Andrew, do you have anything you want to note about this kind of stuff? You've seen, hundreds of these videos before.
Well, I always like to see smoke, especially when they begin to drive away. That's really when you're the most vulnerable, is turning around and leaving. That's when most hits occur. So I do like to see smoke.
You mean smoke for cover?
Yeah, just popping some smoke grenades. I don't know exactly where this was, but I believe it's near Andriivka, and in that general area there are several hills that I know several ATGM crews were on those hills, and they took out a lot of vehicles. And I always like to see smoke. It's great to see. You don't see it often enough, unfortunately. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Usually you don't. And obviously the best smoke would be firing at the ATGM position with like artillery deploying smoke that way.
I know a lot of the military analysts at Tochnyi have mentioned that it seems like smoke is kind of a rare thing for some reason, at least to the point where they've just told me, if you ever see smoke deployed, just like post the video so we can look at it, because there's not enough videos. It's remarkable enough when a video happens that they want us to post about it. So I don't know. That's kind of interesting to me. And it also reminds me, Andrew, of a tweet you made, I think this week, that was like, there's sort of 4 levels of combat footage in your experience. So obviously this is like the first level, I would assume. But I don't know. Like, is there any other kind of anything else you would explain to people who want to look at combat footage in Ukraine, or like, is there any context you could maybe give them that might help for someone who's just browsing the internet and sees like a 2-minute video like this, basically?
I don't know, but regarding smoke, there was a pretty cool video today of Ukraine using some smoke. It was in Stepova, north of Avdiivka. There was a leopard that was engaging a Russian position, and when he was rolling back and forth, hiding behind a building, using its really good reverse speed on the leopard too. And once he was done, they popped a bunch of smoke and reversed full speed out of there. It's kind of funny seeing a tank just jet away backwards. But it is good to see the leopard using smoke, because I've seen leopards not use smoke, and I've seen leopards get destroyed because they didn't use smoke. But this one did use smoke, and it got out of there safe and sound. So that was good. There was also a video that came out today that was somewhat similar to that first video you were looking at, except a little bit more dark in that, unfortunately, the soldiers were wounded, but otherwise it was a similar situation. And yeah, these videos were very vanilla, with a lot of the war kind of stripped out of it. Not so many wounds or blood, or so a lot of videos out there are going to be a lot more graphic than this, and a lot of them are difficult to watch and pretty depressing, some of them. So I would be careful if you're going to go out and watch them or seek them out, especially if you're going to the more darker quarters of the internet, and not just the pre-selected videos that you'd see on like Reddit or something, because a lot of the darkest videos out there are you really don't want to see them. Trust me, like they're very, very depressing and bad to view. It's not good for your health to look at that stuff.
Yeah, I'm reminded a few weeks ago when our resident tanker was talking about the leopards. He mentioned that this is a capability they have to quickly reverse out of a situation like that. So it's interesting to see it like used in action.
Yeah, I was happy when I saw a leopard. I think it was a 122 that actually used the smoke dispersion system they have. They have a very good advanced French smoke dispersion system, and I only saw it deployed this once last week. And yeah, this is something that annoys me. I don't see the Ukrainians popping smoke enough. Ideally, when this battle taxi arrives at the trench, it should pop smoke immediately when it arrives. Ideally, even the soldiers should pop smoke from hand-thrown smoke grenades before it arrives, and this should be the routine. I don't understand why they don't do it. Maybe they don't have enough smoke, which at this point in the war, I think is absolutely a disaster. It would have saved so many lives if they just had enough smoke and deployed it all the time when there's the critical moment that requires concealment. And yeah, I'm happy when I see smoke being deployed, but unfortunately, it's a rare thing. And yeah, thank you, Andrew, for mentioning some of the issues with looking at too many videos. I know Jay wanted to say something about this, and I think you should, because you prepared
Okay.
something. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, Andrew already got into the topic. I would do it differently, a bit from my point of view. I'm not watching combat footage like for fun or entertainment or anything. It is, as you can say, something you cannot totally exclude when you have this top-down and general assumption. Also, there are different aspects. We did not talk about it. For example, geolocation is very important. Yeah, you can use videos to get the exact coordinates when maybe a vehicle got destroyed, and what should be taken care of. This is very serious. If you notice that you have problems from this, because what we show now on YouTube is something, I think this is bearable, but there's combat footage where you see things I don't even want to talk about it or describe them, and it can be very damaging for your psyche. So this is what you should avoid at all costs. There was an example in 2023 where a German journalist, will not say his name. He was rather working as a war correspondent, and he was not even in Ukraine. But he mentioned publicly later that he had to take a break from his work and get some medical treatment or psychological treatment, because he couldn't like bear anymore what he has seen. So probably I would say he had some kind of mild PTSD, and yeah, this should be noted. it has a potential of traumatizing, and you should not underestimate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. I wanna we're gonna look at another video, but before we look at that video, I'm going to attempt to look at some maps, and I hope that the screen sharing function is not going to be too bad. But yeah, this video that we're going to look at is an assault on a position that I believe, if I got it correct, that the Russians pushed the Ukrainians out of, and the Ukrainians do a counterattack and repels the Russians back again. It is also interesting to note that, by the way, can you see the map? Yeah.
Yep, it's working.
Oh, perfect. It's in the area south of Bakhmut. And let me change to the satellites.
It is like between Andriivka and in the south. This should be Kurdumivka.
Yep.
And as a general outlook, it is like in this area, it's some kind of back and forth. Yeah. Sometimes you lose a trench line or you lose a tree line, and then a week later you will maybe reconquer it and repeat again. Like from both sides, it's like constantly small changes, maybe about 100, 200 meters. Yeah, rather positional warfare, but with changing small positions.
And in this video, we see a combination of drone footage and first-person view from some sort of helmet camera. And there's an armored vehicle moving in on this road and approaching this, which used to be a normal forested area, which is mostly destroyed and burnt out at this point. It looks like this area has been assaulted. There were some positions here, some trench lines here, and that it has been, previous to the video, attacked with some sort of incendiary munition. And then I think we're going to try and play the video.
Oh, yes. This was close. Can you pause here for a second?
Yep.
It's not good if you are large. How many guys are inside the vehicle?
Yeah, you see they are approaching the vehicle. You can see it above where the explosion is. I presume this is an artillery hit or an ATGM that missed or something. And it's it's very close.
What we are seeing is the machine gunners trying to suppress the enemy position.
Yeah, and you see Russians moving out of the trenches. That means that the suppressing fire is working. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 soldiers that moved out of the trench. Sometimes when I see these videos, I'm always questioning what sort of support fire do they actually have, because we just see, the fire that they have from the APC. But I assume that there is more supporting fire happening at the same time.
Yeah, this is what the video leaves open. We can't say it because maybe they got support by, I don't know, automatic grenade launchers, mortar systems, drones, and this is something we don't see here in this video, so we can only speculate about it, and I don't like speculation.
No, but I would at least add to this that this is an ideal situation for a modern IFV, one of the Western ones that was provided, the CV90 or the Bradley, for instance, firing, supporting fire from a greater distance. This is a really ideal situation for CV90 or Bradley assault, but they have to they have to do with the stuff they got, and they do it very well. I guess we can move forward. Yeah.
Скидуй десант. Все, вигрузка. Десант земля вправо. За М-кою, за М-кою.
Yeah, and this is the dismount, and that this is a really critical situation when you dismount from a vehicle. You have this concentration of a lot of troops in a very small opening, and yeah, I've heard people talking about it as the gateway to death and stuff like that, because if the Russians would have some sort of ambush set up, then you can actually harm a lot of soldiers at the same time.
Yeah, again, the situation where you want to be very, very quick, and as you can see, very good pause moment, is the vehicles as well when they are dismounting is the only kind of cover provided for the soldiers, which we will see in the next seconds, where they gather behind the vehicle, and then yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, and by the way, I correct myself. The funnel of death is what I've, it has been referred to. So a very critical moment.
Да. Давай вправо уходим.
There's more support fire, I guess.
Yeah, they immediately fire off an RPG round, which I guess is something that they decided before even moving in, that they would fire off suppressing fire with machine gun fire, rifles, and a mortar RPG round. And in this case, we will also see some of the rounds that they carry, and it's not anti-tank, it's or anti-armor versions. They have a couple of different anti-personnel rounds.
Okay, thanks for understanding. Yeah.
Давай! Давай, бежом!
Yeah, and this is this is the tree, and you see this white stuff on the ground, that is ash, and you see actually there's a fire inside the tree.
Yeah,
and that's
very unusual.
Yeah.
Where did it come from, the fire?
Yeah, I guess the Russians have used some sort of incendiary munitions here. Maybe some sort of termite, something that burns through everything, and I presume that's why this position that they're now moving into also was abandoned.
That's a sad picture. So maybe we can pause.
Yeah, find a good moment. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we have the kind of extraction process we just saw with the dismounting, taking cover behind the vehicle, then using RPG and small arms to suppress the enemy position, and now they got into like the trench.
Yeah.
Okay, now can you give us some insight about the communications the soldiers are doing?
Yeah, so actually this is why I wanted to show this video in the first place, because it really demonstrates very, very good communication, both from the commanders, and you can hear in the background the radio. It's very faint, so it's hard to hear what they say, but you can clearly hear that the team leader, who is also the one with the GoPro, he is relaying the information to his squad mates immediately. I got help to translate some of this, and yeah, some of the dialogue here is interesting. He immediately now says basically stretch. So that's I presume the distance between the soldiers. He wants the squad members to move out and create a disbursement. And then he shouts 50 meters away from you to the right. You can hear the radio.
Yep.
Yeah, here is something I think is
RPG.
very interesting. Yeah, because this shows what sort of munitions they carry with them. In this case, it's you can actually see a thermobaric anti-personnel round, Bulgarian type, and he is adding a high explosive fragmentation round into the RPG. And I remember maybe half a year ago or more, 8 months ago, the Ukrainians were requesting this sort of ammunition specifically to the RPGs.
He's pretty fast arming it.
Yeah, both arming it and shooting it. Yeah. And yeah, you can hear, it's funny also in the conversation here, you can hear the squad leader basically relaying information from the radio. It's also contains intelligence about the enemy. And then you can hear the different nicknames that they're using about it. So basically they have code names, and one of them is Squirrel, which presumably is a very important team member of this squad, because he is repeatedly in the communication from the squad leader.
Yes, this is something like I was first not really understanding. First, I mean, when the Russian invasion began, but it's basically normal that every soldier, experienced soldier, has some kind of call sign, or as you said, nickname. And yeah, he his name is Squirrel, which
yeah, there's Brown, White, Squirrel, and Cody being used as code names here.
Okay, and they are now splitting up.
Yeah.
Рук вперед!
There's also some fire support.
Від дерева до дерева, давай!
Yeah, now he's indicating to one of the squad members to flank.
He wants them to advance and flank. Huh?
Yes, he wants them to advance and flank on the left side. You could also hear the radio, the commander on the radio relaying intelligence about the enemy movement about 100 meters ahead. And the interesting thing, which I want to highlight, is that the squad leader immediately realized this information, shouting it to his squad members. It's basically automatic, and that's a sign that this is a very well-trained squad, and squad leader is really routined in this sort of combat.
He's acting very fast. I think there you can see the experience. My question is, would you understand, this is from a soldier's perspective, as important intelligence on the enemy? Or maybe how far are the enemy positions, the enemy soldiers away, or what could be a vital information you want to?
Well, basically, you don't want to give too much information either, right? Because you have just a few seconds to make up your mind what sort of decisions you're going to make on the basis of the intelligence that you get. So 100 meters straight ahead, or on the left flank, on the right flank, this should be trained commands so that you don't really need to think too much before you act. And you see that he got information and he immediately acts. He sends his I think he's a machine gunner to the left flank, and you will see this guy is carrying a hell of a lot of equipment, but he is running like hell to take that left flank.
Плюс, давай! Да!
Oh, the gear.
Yeah, the gear, and it's really difficult terrain to move in as well. But yeah, look at that
Yeah,
guy.
he's really fast. He's really fast.
Дай інформації поворот.
And he's moving, of course, under covering fire. Yeah, takes the left flank.
Група, рух, противник відступає, рух! Белка!
Yeah, and he's saying that the enemy is retreating. So
They are moving, he says.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's the tree.
yeah, and you see there's this sort of environment is dangerous as hell. It's dangerous in so many different aspects. It's not just the bullets flying, but because it's been destroyed. Like, this is nature that is completely destroyed. You could just step on something and fall down on a hole and really hurt yourself, or get a tree over yourself, which in this scenario would be lethal, I guess.
It's not far away from the soldier.
No.
And there could be mines and booby traps anywhere.
Oh yeah, there's just so many layers of dangers in this sort of environment. Yep.
Займаємо укоп противника!
Yeah, and here the video ends. I wish the video was longer, but I think it's a good 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes for our broadcast.
I think it's a very good impression. We
Yep.
also have a question. Does the the armored personal carrier, yeah, it suppresses the enemy when they advance towards the position.
Yeah.
And like after the extraction of the infantry into the trench line, we can't see it. We hear a lot of shooting, of course, but we don't have the perspective. It's speculation at this point. So yeah, it would probably be preferable would be if the vehicle would try to suppress the enemy until like the last situation we saw, because it allows the soldiers on the flanks who get the task to advance on the flanks like more secure movement. The more you suppress your enemy and like has to take cover, the more it is safer for your own platoon members to advance, to move.
Yeah, and I want to add that ideally, you want to have a lot more supporting fire than what we see here. We don't really know exactly what supporting fire they have, but yeah, I would have liked to see at least one IFV with an autocannon being able to give supporting fire in the vicinity of this, because this is a dangerous assault. It's a really difficult terrain to take. So yeah. I don't know the fate of the soldiers, so to answer the question, I don't know what happened or the casualties or anything from this specific assault. I tried to find comments in relation to the video from the sources, but yeah, this is what they published, and I guess there's a reason for it. It's it's some good PR as well, because it looks like a very successful attack, but we don't really know the outcome unless Andrew has any more information about that particular assault.
Yeah, I don't know this particular assault, but they did eventually capture all of those positions, so it was successful in the long run. Although now Russia is doing everything in their power to take them back as we speak.
So real quick, we did have a question earlier. It was just about like maybe why smoke is kind of unusual in this environment or circumstance. I think the short answer is like we really don't know. It's just we don't have a clear answer in terms of why. But I guess I did want to ask Germany to Ukraine very briefly. Is that in any of these deliveries is like a substantial quantity of smoke grenades or smoke shells or anything like that?
Like artillery ones? Yes. Like I've delivered a couple of thousands 155 smoke shells. And when I remember correctly, and I do think I remember correctly, we also pledged again a couple of thousand mortar shells. Like we pledged 105,000 mortar shells, but a couple thousand of them are smoke shells and also illuminating ones. So yeah.
Okay, so it does seem to be a consideration. One thing we should always point out is just because we have a certain video in front of us, like that's never going to be the full picture, right? There could be 9 incidents where they do use smoke, and we just see the one incident in the video where they don't, right? So it can never quite give us a comprehensive or full picture. Of course, we can analyze it like in the moment and say they should use smoke here, or it's kind of curious that they aren't. But it's just something to maybe keep in mind. So we can also use other information, like the question I just asked to Germany to Ukraine, to maybe suss out some of this stuff. But the truth is, we really don't know why. It's just something that I think the military guys have observed and said it is a bit strange that we don't see smoke used more often in these videos. But again, I don't want to imply that that necessarily means that smoke isn't being used on the battlefield. Video isn't necessarily the same as like the situation on the ground. Anyways, Erlend, I think we have one more video. Back to you.
Yeah. So this is Andrew's video that he gave me just now. Do you want to say something before we play it?
I think the video pretty much speaks for itself. It's like 3 seconds long, and and I don't know. It just makes you happy to see it, right? Yeah, it's a Leopard 1A5. That's all.
Good one, right? Is that kind of the idea?
It's Germany recently gave some of these to Ukraine, and I mean, unless I'm being duped, maybe this is like an old video or something, but this seems to be a Leopard one in Ukraine, right?
Well, have I actually missed, due to the live stream, due to the podcast, have I actually missed the first appearance, like a Leopard 1A5 in combat?
Well, this isn't combat. This is just sitting on the side of a road, but
Okay. Yeah, I was not watching. I was on a different tab, and then what? Leopard 1A5? No. Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Germany to Ukraine is very interested in anything that that is Germany related, and yeah, the 1A5s, we've been waiting for them for a while. Yeah, I see that there's some chatter on Twitter about it. I guess I can share. Yeah, I found the video here. Yeah, our so special Hedson Cat basically tweeted the same video and said that somewhere at the front in Ukraine. So, yeah.
As for people who might not understand the significance, just explain like why is it significant? Is it that we've now seen them in the country, or is, like why is this such a big deal to you guys?
it's just seeing the aid actually show up is nice. The Leopard 1A5, it's not the best tank in the world, but it's a tank, and just seeing the aid make it into Ukraine is it's good.
And if I'm allowed to say something, it's the first time we see them like at the front or reportedly at the front. And just for a little bit info, like Andrew said it just now, that we have delivered a couple of them. We have delivered 10 of them in the last 2 weeks, as I reported earlier. Now Ukraine has 30 in total, at least officially. And what is the tank battalion? 31? When I remember right. Any question to
Yeah,
Erlend
I
or
believe
yeah,
so.
yeah, 31. So yeah, maybe that's the reason they got freshly delivered and then straight to the front line because they nearly have a tank battalion full.
Yeah, we were hoping for hundreds of this basically at some point last year, but it's been taking a little bit longer than we expected.
Say it like it is. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Jay, is there anything you want to add to the different videos that we went through?
Not really much to add, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that Daniele wanted to add something here before we move ahead. I'm going to try and upload the stuff you wanted to present on the fly. So bear with me. Daniele, are you with us? I've unmuted you, Daniele. Okay. Well, while Daniele is getting ready, I can say that he was working on some basically a little bit of a debunking report on some rumors that have been going around the last few weeks and days, and he went through some satellite imagery, looked at the different weather satellites to try and debunk and or at least look for any signs of these rumors. Daniela, are you with us?
Now I should be.
Yes,
Can
perfect.
you hear me? Oh,
yes.
okay.
Welcome, Daniela. Thank you.
Thank you.
for
Thank you
joining.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. And also my first time on this new platform, which works great. So hopefully we will do more like this. Yes, just give me one. Oh, nice. I have also the slide on the same. That is amazing. Yeah. So essentially everything started in the last week. When we start to hear about rumors. And honestly, there were a lot of rumors also for these small OSINT account on Twitter. There was a lot of information about crossing, but in all reality, it has been quite a long time that we were informed about crossing of the Dnipro. And there were also many times attempt to say that there was a kind of a series of pontoon bridges, but in the end we never had real evidence of these. And also due to the OPSEC and very strict OPSEC of the armed forces of Ukraine, we never had real information on their side. But in the last week was very evident that a beachhead has been established in several areas, and has been reported finally just a few days ago on social media by the Defense Force of Ukraine that a series of operations have been successful on the left bank of the Dnipro. And of course, we are not able to fully verify the numbers that we have been provided, but they are not completely out of the blue, because these numbers quite reflect the amount of forces that essentially are distributed along the defense lines. And we have been observed also, Andrew can also speak about the fact that there has been a lot of activity on the left side, but also on the right side of the Dnipro, because there were a lot of aviation strikes from the Russian against Ukrainian positions. So at the moment, what we know is that there are at least 1,216 dead, confirmed by the Ukrainian regarding Russian casualties. So we are talking about Russian casualties, and nearly double that figure in terms of wounded. But what is interesting is about the number of vehicles that has been destroyed. Now, in this slide, you can see I was very general because I said 200 vehicles, but in these 200 vehicles, this includes tanks, IFVs, but also a lot of artillery. And so this is a very important signal, because this means that the Ukrainian armed forces are trying to push and destroy the capabilities of the Russian to bombard the other side of the Dnipro River, and this could be a signal that larger operations are ahead to us. And if you go on the next slide, yesterday I just realized with some of the available information that we have from satellite imagery. These are from the Copernicus satellite. In particular, this is Sentinel-2A. We are looking at the Dnipro River. The left bank is below the screen, so south, and the right on the opposite side. And what is important here to notice is that, well, we can see very well bridges. You can see this should be the one on the left. The left should be the Antonov Bridge. So you can even see that it's been partially destroyed, and there is another bridge just in the first image on the left. So this just to show you that if there was any type of pontoon, we would be able to see very clearly. So I know that there were a lot of speculation about the presence of pontoon, but from also information that I gathered from some friends and contact, is laughable that these operations are undergoing now, especially due to the level of presence of Russian artillery in the area, because deploying pontoon bridge at this point would be premature and also damaging. So this doesn't mean that this is not going to happen anytime soon, but probably we are still in an initial phase of the operation. In several areas now, we know that Ukrainians have a stable presence, but being able to keep and expand the beachhead is another thing. So we will need to keep an eye on these and pray for the best, but the current situation looks like improving rather than worsening. And that pretty much the image speaks by themselves, and we will keep an eye on this. Yes. If you have any question, you would like to add anything.
Well, so pontoon bridge is one thing, but there are also other methods of crossing that has been talked about, like ferries and stuff like this. And have you seen any signs of anything like this?
Okay, this is a very very interesting thing, because since in the last month, I've been looking at activities on the Dnipro River, but mainly with SAR imagery, because unluckily the weather is not always very good, and also because thanks to SAR imagery, we can see much better what is inside the water, especially if it's very reflective, like metallic. So it's very easy to spot boats, also of relatively small dimension. Now, we know that Ukraine used and still using a lot of small boats, in the order of hundreds, but even thousand. But these are invisible to our capabilities. But it's also true that there's still a lot of very large ferry operating in the delta of the Dnipro. Now, the reason why these are operated and how still unknown. We have been, for example, able to see together, Erlend, a few weeks ago about an ATGM, a Russian ATGM destroying or damaging one of these ferry. These have been very used even before the war started, just for communication and bringing material from one side to the other of the Dnipro. But we know that the Ukrainians are increasingly using these ferries to essentially trying to spot and identify this ATGM position that could pose a threat to eventual assault boat or amphibious assault. So that there is still activity all along the Dnipro River. It is still unclear if they want to open more areas, but we know that the situation is evolving as we speak.
Yeah, and I guess you have basically debunked a lot of Twitter rumors with your update here, and you know, this is very much in the scope of what we're trying to do with Tochnyi. To our best capabilities, give accurate information and analysis based on the information that we have available. And unfortunately, there are some people out there that doesn't really either know what they're doing, or they just want to put out rumors there that are not true. And your work on this is very important for us, and I think it's important for everyone that studies the war in Ukraine to get this sort of analysis updates when we can give some insights to the stuff that we can observe, also based upon information that we get from, you know, people that are in some way or form in a position to actually tell us what is happening.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, if I can just add, I think that the most of the time what happen is that there is also some kind of wish casting and also confusion, because also the situation on the ground sometimes it looks like evolving so fast that we don't understand that Ukrainians are very resourceful and they can do very, very big things with very little. So we say, oh, that must be, you know, a bridge, how they can land all these people so quickly and so fast. But in reality, they probably have used very, very small both many times, very, very quickly in a very organized way in order to brings a lot of personnel on the other side, which honestly is if you can manage the effort, is a very good idea, because you don't concentrate your transportation, because as we saw last time with that very slow ferry boat, if there were like 50, 60 military or several armored vehicle, that would be synced. So on some extent, you really would like to arrive very, very fast and try to sacrifice the less possible to hold the ground, establish a good position, and then probably move with whatever you need.
One other thing I think worth mentioning, Danielle, is DJ, another of our resident military guys, brought up, which is we've noticed the Ukrainians have mentioned resupplying their forces on the other side of the river by drone. They're using those heavy drones. These aren't little baby drones. These are like big, heavy ones that they look similar to me to the ones that they made that drop like 10 bombs at once, right? They're big, heavy. And I have to assume they're moving fairly, you know, substantial quantities of, I shouldn't say substantial, but it's pretty evident that they are testing in pretty like a serious way, using these to resupply the forces on the other side of the river. So as you said, obviously lots of boats. I'm assuming the boats are probably doing the lion's share of the work here. I think that's, you know, a given. But I don't know, kind of significant, I think, that this drone resupply, and it's been very puzzling to us, this whole business of what's going on the other side of the river. And I don't want to say the drones explain it. It certainly doesn't. But it might help explain a little bit how the Ukrainians are able to accomplish so much on the other side of the river without a lot of direct ability to support it, with like bridge logistics, right?
Well, I can talk a little bit about those drones.
Yeah.
Basically, the drones came about because going by boat is very dangerous, and more or less, like every time you try, you're probably going to take casualties. And it can be a lot of casualties. You can get wiped out if things don't go right. So the reason they started using these drones, because especially the more forward guys are so kind of forward and exposed that getting resources to them was just extremely dangerous, and they're taking too many casualties trying to do it. So they just thought, well, if we try a drone. One of the guys I follow, he did this all very publicly, which is why I'm willing to talk about it. But this was all extremely public. So, but he basically said, like, to his followers, like, if you guys can give me like a few $1,000s tomorrow, I want to try an experiment. And the next day he said, well, the experiment was a success. I'll tell you more tomorrow. And then the next day he said, we're using drones to resupply. We need more money for more drones. So that was pretty much how it came together, as far as I know. It was kind of the initiative of like a single guy. And yeah, I believe he said they can carry about 14 kilograms per trip. One of the main things that they were having trouble getting across were batteries. So the drones can carry batteries pretty easily. I think they were also having issue getting fuel across. So it was kind of batteries and fuel were their main concern. It wasn't so much ammo or anything like that. So the drone can carry across, like a gallon or two or whatever of fuel, and maybe a few batteries, and you can power your Mavic drone that way. So that's kind of the idea behind it.
Well, I guess that if you can get the logistics behind it working well, and you need to train this as well to keep it efficient. I would imagine this being a very, very good solution for supplying areas that are really in the risk zone, or where people need to expose themselves to significant risk just to resupply small things like food and water, and also some ammo. If you can get 10, 20 drones to resupply a certain area of the battlefield, and continue and have those flying almost continuously, that you're going to be able to move quite a lot of material.
Yeah, the Russians used drones to move material around as well. They had one position that was near Krasnohorivka. Now, I don't mean the Krasnohorivka that's north of Avdiivka. I mean the one that's south of it, because there's two of them. But the one south of Avdiivka, there was a mine that was south of Krasnohorivka, north of Mariinka. That mine Russia took, but they could not establish a road to the mine. So they had a bunch of guys in the mine, but they couldn't get to it. They kept trying to push vehicles there, and every time they did, they would lose literally every single vehicle. Whether it was tanks, BMPs, MTLBs, they just lost everything. They tried having infantry carry it up on foot. That didn't work. And then they were just like, whatever, we'll just send drones, I guess. So they started resupplying with drones. First, it was just food and water. Then they started dropping medications, because medication is actually extremely important. People don't really talk about that too much, but the medication is vital. And then I suppose they started probably giving ammo too, because there was basically no way to get there other than through the air.
Yeah, are these the videos that we saw, I guess, back in the winter, where they basically just dropped them from drones that actually were made to drop munitions?
Well, it wasn't from winter. It was from the summer, but yeah, they had like Mavic drones, just stuff. They like fly over and drop them. I have them on my map. I don't remember what date it was, but they are on my map. If you go back in time far enough, you'll see them. But yeah, it was all pretty interesting. And now Ukraine is doing basically the same thing across the Dnipro.
Yep. I hope the Ukrainians are doing it better than the Russians. So, Andrew, before we go to the last segment, move away from the military subject, is there anything in particular you want to mention, like last minute updates from what has been happening on the front lines?
Oh yeah, sure. There's I guess the most important thing going on right now is just the weather. The weather is terrible. It's snowing and sleeting. It started out as snow, but now I think it's turned to sleet. I've some of the guys I know and follow. They've just been posting videos. It's like an inch of sleet on the ground. It's just terrible, just absolutely awful. North of Avdiivka, near Horlivka, Ukraine appears to have they may have solidified their gains there because there's some video today showing multiple platoons operating in that area south of Shumi near Horlivka. So that's pretty fascinating to be to see that many guys there. And now Russians appear to be panicking a little bit. They're kind of pushing all the artillery they have to drive those guys out, and it doesn't seem to be working. In large part because the ground is so soft. When you shoot artillery here, um, they're using contact fuses, but the ground is so soft because of the way this isn't actual ground. It's just like a pile of dirt, right? So the ground is so soft that the shell penetrates the ground before it explodes. So there's just not that much shrapnel involved in these shells. So it's very difficult to do much damage with those shells. They have been trying to shoot TOS. The TOS have done probably a little bit better, but not enough to root out the Ukrainians. And they've also used some air bursting shells, but Russia is pretty bad at air bursting shells, dude. They always seem to time it wrong. But some of those shells that were timed correctly, but I don't know if they hit anything. But other than that, Avdiivka is
just
more.
Before we move to the next area, this is an area that Ukraine basically captured recently, and it's important to note that this red line here is the 2014 line, isn't it?
Yeah. So they crossed it. That southern red marker is a TOS strike, and the northern ones are artillery and airburst artillery. And that northern part is like a whole platoon is there. They're in the trench lines in that position. It was at least a platoon, at least like 30 guys.
So they moved into the Russian trenches here.
Yeah, they completely occupy that area. Now, Avdiivka, it's not going so well. You can zoom in on the coke plant, and you see I've geolocated all those are geolocated shellings and airstrikes. So they all have photographs and whatnot along with them. So you can see what Russia's going for right now is they're trying to just bomb every part of this coke plant.
And then another really bad thing that happened recently is this Russian advance here, right?
Yeah, this southern industrial area. It seems that Russia controls at least half of it, probably. And by control it, I mean the video yesterday that came out. It looks like there are like 20 or 30 tanks there, all operating, like working in groups of like 3 and 4, all pretty close together too. So it's not going well. I guess there is some optimism. I read from the Ukrainian soldiers they're fighting in there, or not necessarily there, but in that general area. There is optimism that they can repel everything, but I don't know.
Yeah, and just to make it clear, like this 2014 line has been basically not touched since the start of the invasion.
Yeah, and north of Vodiana, there's a video that just came out of a Russian attack. I think if you refresh the map, you'll see it because I just posted it. Yeah, there's this attack north of Vodiana where I'm not sure what the result of this attack was, but I do know that it appeared that 2 Russian vehicles hit mines and kind of exploded. And I'm not sure what else happened. They're pushing up to that tree line, which kind of says a lot. A lot of the Russian sources say that whole tree line is 100% Russian control, and them getting destroyed just trying to reach the tree line kind of shows that that's not true. No, it's the other tree line south.
This
of
one?
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
okay.
going to that one. They were getting destroyed there.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, obviously to the west a little bit, but yeah. And yeah, and I guess around Klashivka, Ukraine is losing ground around Klashivka as well, especially to the north.
Here.
Yes. Yeah, to the north of Klashivka, they've lost some ground. Russia's trying to push to and across the railway there, and they've succeeded in some areas. So that's kind of the current update.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I guess that concludes the military update, and thank you for joining us, Andrew. For the audience that might not know Andrew, he makes this map. So what do you do, Andrew?
Well, I make a map, and I sometimes talk about the map on YouTube.
Yeah,
and that's what I do.
And he's one of our best friends and associates of Tochnyi, and we try to sometimes join his stream and on YouTube as well. So thank you very much for joining us. I guess with that, I'm going to give the word back to Joseph.
Okay, so I think that concludes all of the segments for this week. So we are going to wrap up with a kind of a thing we're going to try to work on, which is the image of the week. So Jonathan has prepared some remarks and an image for us, and he's going to talk about the image. And so I'm very much looking forward to this. So let me see first if we can get Jonathan up. Jonathan, welcome up.
Thanks, Joseph. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound great.
Yeah, just while you're getting the image up, can I just say that these battlefield analysis videos go beyond anything that is offered on Twitter. Yeah, bland commentary, particularly that rooted in hyperbole, it's just been replaced by what we've witnessed here today. So thank you for everybody who spoke about that. All right, so on a week in which Napoleon is reincarnated as Joaquin Phoenix, I thought we'd talk about not the graceful, elegant Josephine that bounces along, driving a loaf with the bass turned up to 11. Yeah, quite an interesting quote about Napoleon, the Corsican Fiend or the Colossus of Europe, depending on your persuasion. He once said that Cossacks are the best light troops among all that exist. If I had them in my army, I would go through all the world with them. So on that theme, the picture of the week is Cossack Meadow by Ukrainian painter Serhiy Vasilkivsky, whose upbringing in the then scenic surroundings of Izium set the stage for his artistic development. He was born and raised in a culturally rich environment. He absorbed inspiration from his grandfather's Cossack heritage and his home learning of calligraphy, not because he was home educated, but literally because kids actually did homework back then. So along with that and his mother's artistic influence, there's no pushy parenting there whatsoever, this laid the groundwork for some remarkable and some historic artistic endeavors. A bit of background on him. At the age of 7, Vasilkivsky's family relocated to Kharkiv, which was at the time a significant cultural hub in Ukraine. During this time, he drew influence from the works of influential figures like Taras Shevchenko. Now, despite starting veterinary studies at his father's insistence, Vasilkivsky abandoned this path in 1873, defying his father's wishes. His father is reported to have said, "Do you defy me?" And Vasilkivsky apparently replied, "Yes, I defy you." That is, of course, how every family argument in the 19th century used to happen. European and North African travels followed, where he painted scenes from Germany, Spain, Egypt, and a host of other more exotic locations too. Paris, the fair Paris. It left a lasting impression on Vasilkivsky, not because he had lodgings next to a hot little Moulin Rouge place, but although I cannot confirm that he did not. We can have no doubt of his dalliance with dainty dollies and that doth take his fancy, but this was evidenced by the serious work that he produced, was evidenced by the nearly 50 paintings that he later showcased that garnered international critical acclaim for their panoramic depiction of space and atmosphere and sensual qualities. He settled finally in Kharkiv in 1888. Vasilkivsky immersed himself in Ukrainian artistic circles, heading the local architectural and art society and inspiring a whole new generation of Ukrainian artists, some of whom would be persecuted and killed by the Soviet regime that followed. Despite this, perhaps my whimsical biography of him, before Vasilkivsky actually left this earth, age 62, in Kharkiv in 1917, he was a deeply serious artist with a strong work ethic. His name is on almost 3,000 individual works, a great number of which were unfortunately lost during World War II, but the ones that survived included this one, Cossack Meadow, the type of landscape where Cossacks led by Ivan Serko wrote their famous charismatic letter to Ottoman Sultan Mehmet IV in defiance of the Sultan's demands that Cossacks submit to Ottoman rule. It's the type of landscape where in former times young lovers may have met under a tree on this vast land. It's the type of landscape where today the future of European and greater world security is being fought for, and the fate of Ukrainians currently enduring Russian captivity are being decided. So like always, please DM us on Twitter your picture of this week or next week, or comment on anything you've heard. And back to you, Joseph.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Yeah, and I think Jonathan wants, he likes seeing all the images people are sending in. We've gotten some from viewers and listeners. So if you guys can just like send, I don't know, maybe we can put a tweet out from the main account, Jonathan, in a little bit. And yeah, send in your pictures. Would you agree, Jonathan? Is that something you're interested in?
Absolutely. We'll send out that tweet and we'll, please, anybody who's listening, feel free to submit your pictures of the of this week or the coming week, because picture of the week doesn't have to be of the week in which Tochnyi Weekly. We do many broadcasts here, but it doesn't have to be the Tochnyi Weekly of next week. Please feel free to send us a picture which holds significance for you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Okay, so we are going to wrap up. That pretty much concludes our broadcast. So thanks everyone who tuned in. First off, thanks for listening. Thanks for enjoying the broadcast. Thanks for all your questions. We had a few questions we didn't get around to this week, but we do our best to take your input. For example, someone asked about winter and Avdiivka. You know, Erlend, I'm sure, is going to go to town on that this week, and we'll probably get a whole presentation about winter warfare as a result of this. But so we appreciate all your questions and your feedback and your input. So feel free to do so. You can always send us a tweet or reach out to us on YouTube or during the live streams, comments and so forth. So thanks for that. If anyone, sorry. So thank you to our listeners. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate everyone's support. Thank you to our contributors, of course. Thanks to everyone who presented today. I appreciate it. There's a lot of different things to cover, and it was a lot of great discussion. So appreciate everyone for coming, giving their time, taking the energy to put all this together and present it to the listeners. So thanks, guys. And I think that pretty much wraps up everyone I need to thank. So we will see everyone next week. We broadcast every Sunday, 2 hours ago, as a live stream. Of course, we have a few, VODs now that you can watch the previous streams. We also will try to upload some content. We currently only have one video, which is an Attack'ems interview kind of deal that it sort of explains what Attack'ems is, how it works. So yeah, check that video out. It's very good. We're very proud of it, but we'll try to get more content out. So do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also follow us on Twitter. We've been on Twitter for a while, so please do follow us there. We put out tweets, try to be informative, and also we do. And that's one thing I want to mention is we have a friend of ours on Twitter, Michael Bond. They do a Twitter space over there that is really good. It's a lot like ours, kind of focused on analysis and getting good sources and information. And they're people that we really respect in terms of their ability to do that. So, people we've had on Tochnyi before, like Exit266, who monitors all the grain shipments and things like that, are contributors there. So, yeah, if you're interested in more kind of Ukraine-related coverage, similar to ours, we recommend Michael Bond's space on Twitter, which is happening basically right now, like at the top of the hour. So tune in, check that out. And yeah, that pretty much sums it up, I think, this week. So once again, from the Tochnyi team, thanks so much. Please do subscribe and tune in next week. We hope to see you all again. And Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Героям слава. Slava nashi.
Смерть ворогам.
Smert ворогам.
On behalf of the brave.
Oh yeah.